All right, let's move on then. Eric Macramella is our guest from Gowlings here in town, a local lawyer, just breaking it down for us. And let's talk about what we all saw after the game last night. Those who stuck around and watched the National, Graham James was located in Guadalajara, Mexico. And obviously, just I think everybody's up to speed on this, but for those that aren't, I'll just briefly run it down for you here. Graham James was pardoned 3 years ago. It just came to light for all Canadians that he actually was pardoned on Easter weekend. The Prime Minister got involved, and recently there is now a bill, new legislation they're trying to get through here to change the pardon system, make it tougher for people like Graham James to get pardons. In fact, they're going to change the name altogether. They're going to call it record suspension now if this goes through. Just talk about the reaction to this by the government, Eric, from a legal standpoint.
Well, again, this is in another situation where there was a public outcry, and you have, Graham James convicted of very, very serious crime, indictable offense, and, he gets the pardon. And, when it comes to a pardon, we should be clear about one thing. They still have a criminal record. It's simply masked. But, that's sort of semantics. When you hear the word pardon, you think that, okay, apology accepted, move on. So you can understand why there's sort of been this public outcry, to try and deal with that. The government is tabling this legislation and, saying that if you're guilty of a sexual offense, then you're not entitled to a pardon. If you're guilty of, 3 or more indictable offenses, then you're not open to getting a pardon or a record suspension. Now, but it's definitely going to be a challenge.
Yeah, obviously this makes it far more difficult for everybody. Like you run the spectrum of people that want to be pardoned. Like the reason why this system is in place, Eric, is for people that, just for example, young person does something stupid when it's not nothing to the level of Graham James, and eventually you mature a bit, you want to get on with your life, be able to travel a bit, but this has become such a lightning rod issue. Really, the government had to step in because all of Canadians have basically had their voices heard on this one.
Steve, I completely agree with you. And again, usually the pardon, once you get a pardon, it helps you, get a job, travel abroad. That's sort of the purpose behind the pardon, to make things a little bit easier for you on a day-to-day basis. And so you can understand why the public, there's an outcry because, that doesn't seem, aligned with the situation with Graham James. It's kind of, you feel like you're letting him off the hook a bit.
Yeah, and now the changes are those convicted of serious offenses will have to wait 10 years, up from the current 5, and the onus will be on the applicant to demonstrate that a record suspension would contribute to their rehabilitation. Also, people convicted of minor offenses will have to wait 5 years before asking for a record suspension, as opposed to the current 3 years. So everybody was lumped into one big pile, Eric, and now they're just trying to split that up, right?
Agreed. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do, and putting a little more onus on the applicant to make his or her case out.
All right. Well, as we wrap this up, after I corresponded with you on email, I take it you're a Habs fan?
Well, I guess I would say that I'm a hockey fan, but I do like the Habs.
Okay.
Your show this afternoon, and if Halak isn't going to be the MVP,
okay.
I guess I'm liking Camilleri. I mean, all this guy does is score. That seems to be his hobby.
That's a nice way of putting it.
The other thing is that it's tough. When you look at the Habs, it's difficult to figure out, okay, who is the MVP? Because they play so well as a unit. I mean, I can make an argument for Gill. The guy blocked, 53 shots in the series? I mean, that sort of merits consideration, although Halak, again, has sort of stood on his head. But the Habs as a whole have played really, really well.
Yeah, just to make it interesting on our poll question, though, we had to rule out Halak. It just would have been too easy for people. Yeah, I had to throw him out.
It was interesting watching yesterday's game. I'm still kind of baffled. Maybe you guys have insight into this. On Travis Moan's goal, they made it 4-0 when they were shorthanded. Gonchar just let him skate right by.
Yeah, he was afraid of taking a penalty for interference, but my point was he had time when Moan chipped the puck just to turn around and skate, and he still could have beat Moan to the puck. And meanwhile, Kunitz was watching as well, and poor Chris Letang had to come all the way across the ice. Are you guys not going to do anything? Okay, I guess I'll try to angle him off. And then it was still a bad goal on Fleury. A lot of things went wrong in that play.
A lot of things. It seems like that's the kind of thing you see, in pond hockey.
Yeah, no question about it.
Ciao.
Eric, I appreciate your time today, breaking down a couple of issues for us. We'll hook up down the road.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Eric.
Get it.
All right, there's Eric Macramella. He is a local lawyer here in town with Gowlings. Interesting stuff, especially in Patrice Cormier, because that incident, it's not like Bertuzzi, it's not like McSorley, it's not like Cicerelli. This is an elbow. I don't want to call it a hockey play because he was a predator. He came off the bench and had his guy lined up and chicken wing the elbow out there very deliberately. But I'm with you. Slippery slope.
Slippery slope. If I seen a worse elbow than this, and it was done in the NHL. It was Mark Messier on Mike Modano. It was worse.
You can still find that one on YouTube if you want to.
Check it out on YouTube.
It is brutal.
Check it out on YouTube. Mark Messier on Mike Modano. Yeah, as soon as you bring the law into it, it's once they're in, and it's not a good thing to do because hockey is such a violent game, and I'm not condoning what happened. It was terrible, and there's no place in the game for it. But let the league police itself, and that's why you see a guy like Willie Mitchell that came out today and just ripped the league all over Coley Campbell.
I'm going to read those comments coming up next.
Talk about
Willie
that.
Mitchell teed off.
Absolutely, yeah. He'll be fine for sure. It goes for good.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's just being honest. And can you fine a guy for being honest? I don't think you should.
But he will. He will be fined.
I wouldn't pay it. Yeah. He's being honest, and he's saying what all other players want to say.
There has been talk that Coley Campbell might be leaving that post anyway.
We'll
see.
It's a tough position because when you make a ruling, nobody's going to be happy. But the players, to a man right now, want more discipline. They want a crackdown, and Mitchell had some great comments. We'll get into it later.
Coming up next here in the Healthy Scratches on Team 12.